In this video, we're going to be discussing the 5 things that I love about living in Kansas City. Stay tuned. What's up? I'm Kyle, a local realtor, and today we're discussing the 5 things that I love about living in Kansas City. I am a licensed real estate agent on both sides of the state line. So if you're moving to buying or selling a home in Kansas City, shoot us an email at info@movingtokc.net and we would love to assist you. And if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about eating, sleeping, living, and playing right here in Kansas City, then hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell to make sure you're notified every time we release a new video. So the first thing that I love about living in Kansas City is its convenience. Now, we do have a pretty spread out metro, but I live right in the center on the southern side of Kansas City, so I can pretty much access any part of the metro within about 30 minutes time. And I would say that that's true of most parts of the metro, with the exception of if you live on one of the far outreaches of the metropolitan area. But whether it be, down south in Harrisonville, up north in Smithville, you're still only looking at about a 45-minute drive to get to the downtown area. In addition to that, the traffic is not that bad. So I lived in Denver for about a decade, and because of the rapid growth, the infrastructure just really wasn't able to keep up. And as a result, you would be in a parking lot on a Saturday trying to get from one side of the metro to the other. We really don't experience that here. Yeah, you're gonna have some rush hour traffic at 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., but it's not really that bad. So if you're moving from a bigger metropolitan area, that's something you really don't have to worry about living in Kansas City. The second thing that I love about living in Kansas City is its architecture. Again, I lived in Denver for about 10 years, and the architecture there is pretty boring. They had a couple of historic neighborhoods where the homes had some character to them, but they're really few and far between. For the most part, it was 60s style brick ranches or new modern looking homes. Whereas here in Kansas City, we have so many different historic districts. We have the historic Northeast, where you can find Pendleton Heights, which is the second oldest neighborhood in all of Kansas City. You're going to find a lot of Queen Anne inspired homes there, Victorian style homes. You also have the Country Club Plaza, which was inspired by Seville, Spain, and the architecture there is gorgeous. The plaza just celebrated its 100th birthday, so it is steeped in all of this rich history here in Kansas City. It was actually the first suburban shopping mall designed for cars. And then surrounding that, you have the Country Club district, and all of the homes around there are anywhere between 75 to 110, 115 years old. One of the reasons that I got into real estate was because I love homes so much. So going and seeing especially these historic homes and showing them to clients is one of my favorite pastimes, and lucky for me, I get to do it as a job. I love new construction homes. There are a lot of good builders in town. We help clients who want to move to new construction communities, but my passion is for historic homes, and Kansas City has a lot of them. The number 3 thing that I love about living in Kansas City is the 3 seasons, because I don't care for winter. It is not my cup of tea, which living in the Midwest, we do have pretty harsh winters, and I always try and plan a trip somewhere in January or February just to break it up. But spring, summer, and fall are the absolute best here in Kansas City. Some people don't really care for spring because, allergies, but it's beautiful. We have all of these flowering trees. You get all of these aromas from, these different flowering plants and trees. My neighbor actually right across the street, they have a native grass garden in their front yard, and it has the full life cycle of a monarch butterfly. And every single time somebody comes to my house, they point at that yard and they're like, what's going on with your neighbor? Like, they're just letting it run wild, but it's very intentional, and they actually spend more time, money, and effort on their yard than any other yard in our neighborhood. And we have some pretty pristine green turf-like lawns, but I absolutely love it because we get all of these beautiful flowers all of these insects and different wildlife right here in the city in our neighborhood. And then the summers, yeah, you're gonna have more bugs, but we get fireflies here, which I absolutely love. Again, didn't get those in Denver. One of the things that I really missed about living in Kansas City, but it's so lush and green here during the summer. And that's something that I didn't get in Denver because it's such an arid, dry climate. It's the high desert in Denver. A lot of people don't realize that, but for the most part, you know, the mountains look brown for like, 4 months during the summertime. So, it's not as pretty as you would imagine it being. The mountains do make it seem prettier than it really is, but Denver as a city, I don't think is very pretty. That's just my opinion. Kansas City, however, is beautiful. We have these huge trees. They're lush and green and gorgeous. So I absolutely love it. And then by far, my favorite season is the fall because everything is lit up with orange, reds, yellows. It's just so beautiful seeing the changing of seasons. Granted, it does mean that we're coming into the winter months, which I don't care for that much, but it is nice to experience that cool down and see the changing of seasons. And I love Halloween, taking the boys out and trick-or-treating. So it's just a great time of year for me. Fourth thing that I love about living in Kansas City are the things to do. Now, I think Kansas City gets a bad rap for things to do, especially when I moved to Denver. I kind of was of the same thought process. Like, I didn't think there was really anything to do in Kansas City because Denver had the mountains and, what does Kansas City have? One thing that we have a lot of is lakes and being on the water, fishing, swimming, skiing, boating, that sort of thing. That's one of my favorite pastimes. I grew up doing that. We have a ton of lakes within a 20-minute drive of downtown Kansas City. And if you want to go a little bit further, you can find even bigger bodies of water like Table Rock Lake, the Lake of the Ozarks. Up north, about 45 minutes from downtown, we have Smithville Lake, which is a pretty big lake as well. Granted, it's not the ocean, but hey, we'll take it. And then live music. I grew up going to concerts. We have a ton of awesome music venues right here in Kansas City. Some of my favorite indoor music venues are the Midland and the Granada, which is actually out in Lawrence. And we get a lot of national acts that come through those venues. In terms of outdoor venues, we have Starlight. And one of my favorites is Grinders, which is this pizza shop, but it's also an outdoor music venue in the Crossroads. So go check out our Crossroads video if you haven't seen it already. It's like one of the main cultural hubs here in Kansas City. They have a First Fridays weekend and there's graffiti all over the walls. There are vendors. It's like one giant block party. First Fridays in the West Bottoms, where they have these buildings that are 3 or 4 stories tall, just packed to the brim with all of this like estate sale type stuff and antiques. And actually like 75% of my furniture and little trinkets and decorations and stuff that you'll find in my house were purchased at First Fridays in the West Bottoms. Also, shout out to Chef Jay's, which I believe is the best barbecue in Kansas City. They're open every First Fridays weekend. You got to check them out. And last but not least, the number 5 thing that I love about Kansas City is how it's growing. So check us out over on Instagram. We do a lot of new development news and coming to Kansas City type videos. We have 2 videos on this channel coming soon to Kansas City and coming to Kansas City by 2026, where we talk about a lot of these development projects that are taking place here in Kansas City that are really unique. And I think it's a very thoughtful growth. So whereas I lived in Denver for 10 years and, it was from 2011 to 2020, the boom in Denver where we had 10,000 people per week moving there. And that's really not a sustainable growth. They grew too fast. Whereas I think here in Kansas City, we're experiencing a healthy kind of growth. And there's a lot of thought going into the expansion of these communities and interconnecting neighborhoods through walkability and pedestrian walkways and all of these really cool entertainment districts that they're adding to downtown and around the metro. I'm really excited about. We also had a new international airport completed just this year, which is really going to open us up for more business and industry coming to Kansas City. In addition to that, we have Panasonic, which is building a $4 billion EV plant in DeSoto, Kansas, and it's going to bring 4,000 jobs to the metro. So we have a strong economy. We have strong growth going on here in Kansas City, and I absolutely love to see it as a KC native. So there you have it, my 5 favorite things about living in Kansas City. Are you considering moving to, buying or selling a home in Kansas City? Well, we would love to help you. So shoot us an email at info@movingtokc.net. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel, as we're putting out new content every single week about eating, sleeping, living, and playing right here in Kansas City. I hope you enjoyed this video of my 5 favorite things of living here in Kansas City. Go ahead and drop a comment below. What are your favorite parts of living in Kansas City? And we'll see you next time.